Welcome to Turning Hard Times to Good Times. I am your host, Jay Taylor, and I'm talking to you once again from the Borough of Queens. It is the 25th day of October 2022. Before I talk more about today's show, I'd like to remind you that I do publish a newsletter called Jay Taylor's Gold, Energy, and Tech Stocks. It really focuses mostly on junior gold and silver exploration companies, but we're also looking at some biotechs and a few other oil and gas stories as well. My good friend Chen will be with us to talk about a couple of the biotechs that I'm following that he likes a lot. Those of you who might be interested in signing up for my letter, go to miningstocks.com. Chen Lin, who is with us, we like to mention his newsletter as well. What is Chen buying? What is Chen selling? And you can go to chenpicks.com. That's CHENPICKS.com. Do want to thank all of you for listening to the show, making it one of the more popular shows in the Voice America Business Channel. Also want to invite you to keep your questions and comments. Send them along to questionsfortaylor@gmail.com. Questions, the number for taylor@gmail.com. And, of course, we do want to thank our sponsors for making the show economically possible. Today, our sponsors are Irving Resources, Novo Resources, Gold Bull Resources, Eloro Resources, Reyna Gold Mining, Lion One Metals, and Timberline Resources. I've titled today's show, Are Rising Rates Setting a Debt Avalanche in Motion? Bob Moriarty, Michael Oliver, and Chen Lin, as I noted, will be the guests for today. Virtually every time the Fed has started raising rates, they have continued to raise them until something breaks. While a portion of the air is typically left out of these credit bubbles during a Fed tightening process, our central bank never completely cleans out the excessive debt that built up during the credit cycle that just ended. Instead, at the end of each cycle, the total amount of debt to GDP remains dramatically higher than in the prior cycle, at the end of the prior cycle. But this current cycle may well be the cycle that destroys this global fiat monetary experiment that was really launched in 1971 when President Nixon removed gold from the international monetary system. And for the first time in history, no country in the world had a gold-backed system, a gold-backed currency. There are some folks like Jim Rickards who believes when this final bubble bursts, it will require an end of the dollar system and that we will inherit a one-world currency system run by the IMF that with the new currency being the SDR. And Jim Rickards is scheduled to be with us in a few weeks from now, and I expect to ask him more about that when we have him towards the end of November. Right now, in 2022, it looks like Jim Rickards may have been right, with interest rates rising at a faster rate by far than during the Volcker Fed in 1980. The Fed and most other central banks in NATO land are technically bankrupt because those bonds that they bought at zero, very, very low interest rates are now, with higher interest rates, deeply negative. And if you think about it, the TLT, which is the long-dated U.S. Treasuries, have lost 37% of their value this year. Well, to the extent that a lot of these central banks have, trillions of dollars of these low interest rate vehicles that they purchased, bonds that they purchased, and now they are deeply negative. So the net worth of most of these central banks are now negative. If the Fed and other central banks continue restrictive monetary policies, it seems almost 100%, in my view, that we will have a debt avalanche that hammers the final nail in the coffin of this global fiat monetary experiment that began in 1971. On the other hand, if central bankers follow the path of the Bank of Japan, which is printing however trillions of yen that are required to buy Japanese bonds to keep their price elevated, then it seems equally likely that currencies like the Japanese yen will hyperinflate themselves into the dustbin of history, at which time there will be no choice but to devise a new monetary system. Well, how all this will end up, we're going to speak to Bob Moriarty in the second half of today's show to get his thoughts on this potential debt avalanche or perhaps heading in the opposite direction in a hyperinflationary environment. We hope and pray that neither of those things come true, but we must be on the lookout for the possibility, I think. There's enough reason to believe those are possible outcomes. Michael Oliver, who believes that markets are facing the most serious downturn most serious threat, I should say, since the Great Depression. He'll be with us right after our first commercial break to give us his latest view on interest rates and a host of other markets. But right now, I'm happy to tell you that Chen Lin is with me to share his thoughts on the current markets and where he thinks investors might be able to make some money in these tumultuous markets. Thanks for joining me, Chen.
Thank you, Jay. Glad to be here.
Good to have you with me, although the first thing I want to ask you about is not necessarily a happy topic for me or for you. Tricida Inc., you've talked about it on this show in the past. I've written about it. I own the shares myself, have it in my newsletter. It was supposed to be developing a drug that would significantly delay chronic kidney disease. But yesterday, when the phase 3 trial results came out, they were, I guess, almost, if not a complete failure, almost a complete failure. What can you tell us about Tricida? Have you learned anything since their announcement yesterday?
Yeah, I feel like a strike by lightning. I was so confident in this trial. Not only me, you look at the American Kidney Foundation, they think this is the most promising drug in the past decade, and all the other hedge funds, including Steve Cohen and many other VR, they were buying actively in the open market, actually at a much higher price than we bought, I would say. We all believe in this. And somehow this trial was just completed failure. There's very hard to find a reason for this. But one possibility you can say the drug doesn't work, which is, we know it should have impact, right? Because take out the acid in your gut. Mm-hmm. So another most possible explanation could be, it's 6-year trial versus a 1-year trial. 6 years, those people life expectancy is 5 to 10 years. So they could be extra careful. They may not eat meat. They may eat a lot of alkali. So those effects may be similar to what they have Tricida's drug because they also take out the acid. So that's what they found was the acid level of those patients actually improved, and the placebo is not supposed to improve in all the trial, right? I mean, you think about one drug take off the acid, that supposedly it should better than regular, which is true in the 1 year. I think the 6-year trial, people maybe also East Europe, maybe medical service may not be that good. People are extra careful. They just don't want to die. I mean, it's possible. So it could be the trial design issue. It could be this drug that completely doesn't work, which, we don't believe. But anyway, it's water on the bridge. I already came out before market open yesterday. I already tell my subscribers just to sell it. Last week I urged my subscriber to put it zero cost, right? So you don't put any risk because the stock has already triple, quadruple since we purchased. We bought before Steve Cohen. So just put a zero cost, and then if you sell it, you still have a little bit gain. It's a tiny little gain in 1 year in a very bad market, but I'm not proud of it. I was hoping for much more. I'm very, very disappointed for the trial, and also very, very disappointed for those kidney people with kidney disease. So, but that's we just walk away. That's what can I say? Anything can happen in a trial.
Yeah. Do you think there's a chance that they'll look at this and go back and try it again?
Possible. They have to find another sponsor. This trial lasts 6 years. As I said in my newsletter, if they do another trial, they find another sponsor, they find out what's the problem with this trial, we're talking about another 10 years from now, right? I mean, 8 to 10 years. I mean, I will lose all my hair by then. I don't have that time to wait, okay? So that's why I tell my subscribers, just get out. It's failure. It's failure. I just, swallow my pride and just move on.
Yeah, I mean, it was the one that you felt, not only you, but a lot of other really well-educated people in this field believed was almost a sure thing, and it just came as a tremendous shock when we saw the results. And then there's another one, Chen, that you have all along thought was a long shot, and that's Synaptogenics. It has only 6.8 million shares outstanding, selling at $6.82 this morning, at least when I looked at it, SNPX. Now, this is a company that is designing a drug that is made to help not only slow down Alzheimer's, but actually there's some signs that it reverses the Alzheimer's disease. And as you pointed out, I mean, this is a very small market cap It's got a very small market cap. And if for a huge market, Alzheimer's, if something can be devised to reverse that, it'll be absolutely huge. So, but you've always all along have felt that this would be a low probability success compared to Tricida, which you thought was going to be almost a sure thing in the later days anyway. But what can you tell us about Synaptogenics? And maybe, who knows, maybe this long shot will be the one that works. Let's hope.
I have a small position, and I remain cautious because, almost, one out of, 100 Alzheimer trial was successful, right? They're very, and then this will be the first ever that actually reverse Alzheimer. I hope they succeed. I mean, they got the funding from NIH, so they have, I think they have a shot, but market didn't recognize. The stock has been flat, I think we just need to watch it very closely. They're going to have a presentation tomorrow. I invite investors to take a look, see what they have, and then they should report data in the next 2 months. So if the data is positive for God's sake, maybe there's opportunity in the first few hours. I certainly will keep my subscribers alert, right? So you want to stay with the winner. You don't want to, just in those biotechnology, you want to stay with that. If it's a winner, I think there are opportunities. The company may need to raise money. I met the management. I talk to them. I know them very well. So there will be advantage if they are successful. But first, they have to release good data first. That's a placebo-controlled phase 2 trial. That's very, very important.
Yeah. Next 2, you say the next 2 weeks, next 2 months, I think you said.
2 months. They said supposed to report in Q4. That's there. But they will have a presentation tomorrow, and we'll take a look, see what's the update, when the data, if they have any update on the timeline of this data release. All right. So.
All right. Only 6.8 million shares. So if this thing comes through in a big way, it could really move the stock. And of course, it's ChenPicks.com. ChenPicks.com to go to keep up with this story from Chen. He really does a great job for his subscribers. Well, Chen, with just a couple of minutes left here, another of your favorites and mine is Amorous Inc. And for listeners who may not be familiar with Amorous, it's a synthetic chemistry company, really the leader in this field. That replicates molecules that are found in nature, and then they're able to manufacture massive amounts of these molecules. Have all kinds of applications. And this is a company that has revenues. Tell us, what do you know about what's the latest on Amorous?
Right, they are getting close to break even. Q4 could be their first quarter, break even quarter, or slightly negative, and the next year could be the first profitable year. You know that a company like Amazon, like Google, as soon as they become profitable, they're in complete different category. The founder of this company, also the founder of Amazon and Google, John Doe, right? I mean, so there's some link with this, which the key is cash flow positive, right? Once they start making money, and they should have 2 major catalysts coming in the next few months. One is they're supposed to sell their molecule for $400 million. The market cap right now is $800 million. Think about it. You sell 2 molecules for $400 million. That's the company said they will plan to get it done in Q4 as well. So it's in the next 2.5 months. And then we know Biden administrations, and they have a serious concern of, Chinese ingredients. Right, so all this API or vitamin, anything with drug manufacture, mostly made in China. So this actually is to bring the biology manufacture back to the United States. So actually, that's for the biosecurity is very, very important. So they requested in the White House meeting $1 billion from the government. Okay, so if government gave them in the next few months $1 billion, think about it, they got $1 billion from the government, $400 million. From selling of molecules, the stock be $800 million. I seriously thought. I think it will probably be double digits. So that's another stuff I'm very, very bullish on. So I own a lot of shares, and I've been accumulating some cool options for the next few months because the catalyst.
Yeah, and sometimes you've really reduced your cost basis by buying calls or sometimes selling calls and and as you just did with Tricida. Anyway, Chen, this is very exciting, and I should mention that NASDAQ, it trades on NASDAQ Amorous. It's AMRS. $2.50 is where it was trading earlier today when I last checked it. So that also has, I think, tremendous upside potential. You've done extremely well with a number of these biotechs, Chen. So we're really thankful that you could spend a few minutes to pass along your knowledge about some of these stories to my listeners. Thank you so much for being with us again. And
yeah, thank you. I just want to add one more thing is that gold and silver seems to form a bottom right now. Silver is outperforming gold. It's just exactly what I'm expecting. So I think people should really take a close look at silver.
Well, I think that's well put, and I know Michael Oliver is going to be with us right after the break. Michael feels the same way. In fact, he's been looking at silver outperforming gold as an indicator that we're on to the next bull market. Boy, I'll tell you, it's been a long time since we've seen nice, strong gold bull market, gold and silver and the share markets. I'll tell you, it's been, I can't wait. I hope you're right, Chen. Thanks again for being with us, and we'll do it again sometime soon.
Thank you, Jay.